Hello Internet, it's me, Hugh, with another Geek Diary, and I am certified. I have passed the YouTube certification exam, the first exam that I have passed in like 2 decades. Because when I was at school, I was very good at not passing exams. I was the worst student. I was terrible. I hated school, and it showed in my marks in a horrible way. And as a result, I never finished high school. I'm a high school dropout, and it is this weird sense of shame and guilt that I carry with me because of that. This all sort of came up while I was doing this exam, because I suddenly feel like the educational system failed me, and I failed the educational system. It was at first people, my teachers and my poor parents, who had sent me to a very nice, private school, had thought and felt that perhaps there was some kind of a learning disability, that I had some kind of, there was something wasn't right in my brain that wasn't allowing me to learn at the same rate that I should be learning at. And as a result, I reveled in that. The idea that, oh, no, you're right, you know what, my marks suck, it must be something wrong, Turns out I ended up taking some kind of a proficiency exam or test. I can't remember what it was. It may have been an intelligence test, I'm not sure. But the point being is I excelled at that, apparently, unbeknownst to me. And from then on in, my teachers, my parents, everyone they just piled on me, because the reality is they're like, what, this guy, they were thinking, oh, poor David, little guy, a little slow. And now they're like, you lazy bastard, get working. So basically, everything compounded, I dropped out of school. And it's not something I regretted right away, because I was acting, I was loving it, I was working all the time. My father had the good sense to kick me out of the house when I quit school, when I quit high school. He said, I am a grown-up now, you're no longer going to school, so you are a grown-up, and as a grown-up, you need to live on your own, and on your own terms and in your own place. So, and I very, very much appreciate that from him. At the time, maybe not, and I'm sure he was less than happy about it as well, but the reality is it was exactly what I needed to pursue what I wanted to pursue. But as a result, I have always carried this weird sense of guilt and shame about the fact that I don't have this, the very basic education in today's world. And I resent that immensely, because I loved learning. I continue to love learning. I think as a fanatic and as a geek, you have to love learning. There's something to learn. There's always something else to learn every day. And the internet is a perfect example of, it's endless, There's this endless stream of information that you can get, and I love it, and I revel in it, and I read it, and I love learning. But I was a terrible student, and that weird disconnect. There was this amazing book called The Element, and I've already forgotten the fellow's name. I will put it up in a link up here, but he did a TED Talk and then wrote this book about how finding the passion that drives you is essential to education. It's not about marks, it's not about exams, it's not about this sort of educational process that's supposed to work for everyone. It is so dependent on finding the things that you love. I, very early on, found that the film industry was what I wanted to be in. And that was it. That was my focus. That was my drive. And I was very fortunate that I had good teachers and great parents who sort of allowed that to flourish. Unfortunately, it was at the expense of my regular education. I loved learning from very early on. I remember the Reader's Digest books that there was Reader's Digest encyclopedias, and I would just read them through, like A to Z, just loving all of the A to Z, I should say, through all the different things, and making those weird little connections that you can make when you have such weird random thoughts and random pieces of information. So I guess I wanted to talk about education. Like, what do you guys... I feel like it's failing us. I feel like I go from country to country, and my kid is bounced from school to school. We're in Toronto now. I love the school he's in now. He loves the school he's in now. But I still feel like there's so much that he's missing out on, because there's this weird standardized form of education. I don't want to do homeschooling. I don't feel like a guy who dropped out of high school can do homeschooling. And I feel that there's a social element that I worry about with the homeschooling. But I'd be very, very curious to know if anyone else has had any experience with that. And I would love to hear about that, because I'm certainly not close to it. But also just for myself and ourselves as geeks, as fanatics. How do we pursue the love of what we're passionate about? And how have you done that? And how are you going to do that? Like, if you're not now, how are you now going to pursue that? Because this is what fanatical is turning into for me, is this is this way to get people back into the things they love if they're not already there, and how to continue and flourish in them if they are. So comment below. Let me know about your educational experiences, and whether they are in the past or whether they're happening now, or whether they're what you plan to do in the future. And I will definitely put up that link for the TED Talks and for the book that you should definitely have a look at. It's an amazing read and really inspiring. They talk about some of the greatest minds and brains of today who basically were failed by the educational system. The educational system didn't fit in the box, and only because they were allowed to flourish outside of it did they succeed in the way they did and contribute the way they have to our world. So basically, kind of a weird mishmash of questions there, I guess. But basically, I want to know what your experiences are with the educational system, how you think it can be improved, and how you are using it now. Because there's so many great things out there, ways to learn, as we've discovered from the talk about getting kids from gaming into programming. There's so many amazing tools out there, and sites and YouTube channels and all sorts of stuff. So comment below, subscribe just underneath the Hollywood D, and until we geek again, cheerio!